prosecutors and sometimes judges are passing judgment and adjudicating cases and don't have the full scope of the history of some of these very violent criminals. So we want to make sure that information's at their fingertips.
Well, Metro Council members, they are working with a local nonprofit to create an online database that would help track repeat violent offenders in our community. Metro Council is meeting right now to vote on the city's upcoming budget, and in that proposal, they're setting aside $500,000 to help start this database.
Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia Francischini is joining us live from City Hall with more about that database. Hey, Fernando.
Hey, Brian. So the idea for this came from the Louisville Metro Police Foundation. It's a nonprofit that a couple of months ago launched the Repeat Offender Initiative. It's an effort to strengthen coordination, transparency, and accountability in support of violent crime reduction. And Metro Council members say tonight's vote will ensure that there's money to support this initiative for years to come. The Louisville Metro Police Foundation says in 2025, approximately 581 repeat offenders were responsible for more than 700 felony cases involving almost 1,800 charges.
Essentially, that will create a dashboard that the judiciary, that prosecutors, that law enforcement can use in order to track repeat violent offenders.
Councilman Anthony Piagentini supports allocating $500,000 for the creation of the dashboard.
We're seeing at least some, not all obviously, but some judges making what I would argue and what I think the public would agree is very questionable decisions.
This court does not believe that Mr. Thompson, if giving the resources that he can get while incarcerated, is beyond being rehabilitated.
Councilman Piagentini points to a case that made headlines earlier this year when Judge Tracy Davis cut the recommended sentence in half for a man accused of kidnapping and sexually abusing a woman. He says this dashboard will make critical information more readily available, hoping it'll give violent offenders the consequences they deserve.
We're going to coordinate that data so we'll have it much more rapidly available to the public, to all levels of the criminal justice system, so that they don't have to do as much work to make sure that we are vetting the highest level of justice for the people that are frankly ruining our city.
So the city of Atlanta created a similar program, and that's where Louisville leaders got the idea to form this database. If the funding is approved tonight, the idea is to launch the initiative in the coming months. In downtown Louisville, Fernando Garcia Francischini, Wave News.